Jesse Stone sat across from detectives and said,
I wasn't even near her house. I was across the street.
The detective didn't argue. He didn't accuse. He simply leaned in and said,
Your DNA went off her underwear.
That one line changed everything. Because this wasn't just about what Jesse said. It was about what he didn't expect.
Like she said, it's not like we're talking about a sweater that it was found on. It's in this elderly woman's underwear.
Holy cow.
This is a classic use of expectancy violation theory, where the truth is forced out by introducing evidence that completely disrupts the suspect's mental script. Jesse believed distance was his defense. He didn't expect science to place him at the center of the crime. And as the pressure built, the strategy shifted. The detective added,
Sometimes the hardest part of the story is the thing we give the least detail about. And I can understand it, man. You're 14, you have so much more of your life to live. But what we need to understand, man, is we need to understand the truth.
Not aggression, but psychological softening. A careful balance of pressure and permission. Piece by piece, the lie began to collapse. Not through force, but through precision.
I was just kind of like holding it there so she couldn't really see me.
But the pertinent questions are who this stupid and evil guy is, and what happened on that night. Welcome back to my channel. I don't have many followers, but your single comment is a ray of hope for me. In the early hours of June 9th, 2024, in the quiet rural community of Reddick, Marion County, Florida, a disturbing crime shattered the peace of the neighborhood. It was a warm, humid summer night when a 91-year-old woman, alone in her home, called 911 in distress.
You said video? Okay. Is that all he did?
Yeah.
How long lapsed?
What else did he do?
No, I don't know. He was trying to rape me.
Okay.
Because is it okay what all I tell you?
Yeah, it's okay.
I would like to have a drink of water.
What's the time lapse?
Let's have a drink of water. Where can I get you drink of water from?
Well, right there in the sink.
In the sink?
Yeah,
Ma'am, how long ago was this? How long ago was this? Like 30 minutes ago?
5 minutes ago.
5 minutes.
10 minutes ago.
She's significantly injured in her face and got a big gash on her arm. She's 91 years old. So she says that the guy sounded Hispanic and he was telling her to be still and penetrated her with his fingers. And she said that he felt like he was not erect, but maybe trying to be. She said it lasted about 15,
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, she says he never took off his pants.
She said he never took off his pants and it lasted about 15-20 minutes and he left about 5 to 10 minutes prior to us going 97.
Deputies arrived shortly after midnight to find her injured and shaken, with clear signs of an assault inside her bedroom. According to investigators, the attacker had entered the home during the night while the victim was resting.
I was literally down the road.
Yeah. You got her quick, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't see anybody running or anything.
Yeah, he's probably in the wood lines or one of the houses back here. There's no telling.
Yeah. So she's iffy about the whole inserting the fingers, but I don't know. Because she told me as soon as he got in there, she was reeling.
Hey, LT. Hey, you're on call, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm up here in Reddick. I'm at a house. A 91-year-old lady calls in saying she was just raped. We get on scene. She's beat up really bad. And I guess she says she went to bed, woke up, and there's someone standing over her with a Spanish accent and just starts beating the hell out of her. And then he penetrated her several times with his finger. Not his actual penis, though, because he couldn't. I guess she's made a comment about couldn't get erect or wasn't erect or whatever. But he did finger her, and then she began screaming more, and then he ran out the house. I'm on scene now with deputies. I got K9 and L1 coming, but she's probably gonna be getting transported to the hospital because she got wailed on pretty good.
In a sudden and frightening encounter, she was physically overpowered and assaulted before the suspect fled the scene just minutes before law enforcement arrived. The home was immediately secured as a crime scene, and officers began collecting evidence while other units canvassed the surrounding area for witnesses or suspicious activity.
Seems like somebody may or may not have was over here messing with her. Have you seen anybody walking around or anything?
No, I could look on my camera.
Can you please do that for me, please?
All right.
I'm gonna get the plate. Not obvious.
Hey, did you see anybody run through here or anything?
Not to my yard, but I've been kind of went in the house at 9:30 to eat dinner,
Okay.
and came back out with my son. Said he saw one of the cars.
Oh, okay.
I was sitting there for a minute. And
Your son live here too?
Huh?
Your son live here too?
Yeah, my son lives here. My daughter and son-in-law are down here from West Virginia on vacation. There was a car earlier that came up there, like it was still daylight out there, but I think it was one of her friends.
Okay.
I mean, it looked familiar, like I've seen the car before.
Okay.
But nobody's been in my yard because I got dogs out. So,
Right. Okay.
is she okay?
I hope.
Neighbors reported nothing unusual, highlighting how quickly and quietly such crimes can occur.
Hey, how you doing? Deputy Nixon, American County Sheriff's Office. Have you seen anybody like run no past here since probably like 12:45 on? Do you know of any like Hispanic males or anything like that that live in this area? Okay. Okay. Other than that, nothing. Okay. If you check your cameras in the future and you see anything, can you just let us know? Because we had a serious thing happen to an old lady. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Have you guys seen anything?
No. I don't know. Did you guys knock on their door?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so then that was just you guys knocking on their door.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't see anything.
Alrighty, cool. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
However, investigators soon focused on a 14-year-old boy from the neighborhood, Jesse Stone, who had been seen outside that night. With consent from his guardian, detectives obtained a DNA sample. Days later, forensic results confirmed a critical breakthrough. The DNA matched evidence recovered from the victim. This transformed the case from an unknown attacker to a confirmed suspect. So, cops brought Jesse in for the interrogation, and today we will look into the psychological aspects of this case.
So, before I kind of really get into the nuts and bolts of it, I want to make sure that I have everything correct for Jesse as far as like your name and all that stuff. So I know we kind of went over it when I was out there earlier, but I just want to make sure I have everything crystal clear. Jesse, you call it Jesse or Randy? Which one do you want to go by?
Randy John.
Randy John. Okay, but your legal name is Jesse.
Correct.
Okay. Now is that J-E?
S-S-E.
Okay. Do you have a middle name?
Ernest Dwayne. It's two middle names.
Okay. E-A-R-N-E-S-T?
Sure, I think so.
Okay.
I have to look on his birth certificate to see what it is.
Gotcha.
His mother named her that.
Okay, gotcha. And Randy, what's your
Randy John.
Randy John. So both of them.
Both of them.
Got it. Randy John. Okay, thanks for correcting me. What's your date of birth?
December 22nd, 2009.
Okay. And you're currently in school right now, but like summer school?
Yes.
What school do you go to?
For 9th grade, I went to the North Marion High.
So you're going into 10th grade?
Yeah.
Okay. I gotcha. And that's kind of, I guess, where you were today?
The summer school's at the middle school, but I was doing some credit recovery.
Okay. You guys still at the address where we were?
Yep.
That was 4400 Northwest
148th.
Okay. What's the zip code out there?
32686.
And I don't remember if the last time I talked with you, if you said you had a phone or not.
I don't.
You don't? Okay. Do you use mom's phone at all?
No.
Okay.
He takes my phone.
Gotcha. Okay.
And his great grandfather's as well.
Okay. And mom, your phone number was 352-239-0313. Okay.
Before the detectives apply pressure, they spend a long stretch making Jesse feel that the room is manageable, predictable, and even a little friendly. They offer water, talk casually, joke about signatures, ask about school, and let the conversation feel ordinary. Psychologically, this reflects the Reed-style rapport phase mixed with principles from uncertainty reduction theory. A suspect who feels less immediate threat is more likely to keep talking, lower his guard, and reveal behavioral patterns. The point is not kindness for its own sake. It is to reduce resistance early so that later confrontation lands harder.
I asked her about these blackout things that she had been having. She said that she gave me a name for it. I forget what it was, but she said that she hadn't been having them as much anymore.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't remember anything else.
And y'all talk. You said on the front porch. Is that what you said?
Porch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever talk like just for Friday? Did you ever like go inside her house at all and talk with her or anything like that?
No, not that I remember.
Did you ever go inside her house, like either to like I don't know, use the bathroom or anything like that?
That's about the only time I go in her house is to use the bathroom.
But she's asking, have you ever been in her house?
Yeah, to use the bathroom.
Okay. So this particular time. So we're talking. This was Friday. So this was June 7th. Do you remember going in her house?
Yeah, right before I left, I went and used the bathroom.
You did.
Right?
Okay.
And then, as I left the porch store, I got stung, and she was gonna get up and swat at it. The nest, it was right inside her door. She was gonna get up and swat at it, and I told her to just wait. I'd go and get some spray for her. But I went to my house, couldn't find a spray, so I went back to try and help her, and she had already got it down, destroyed the nest.
She got that thing down by herself?
She used the broom.
Okay, do that. She just tough old lady.
She's still able to garden.
She is tough. She is tough. I was amazed.
Did you go anywhere else besides the bathroom?
No.
No.
I went right to the bathroom and then out.
Okay.
The detectives let Jesse tell his story broadly first, then gradually revisit it in more precise ways, where he walked, when he returned, whether he entered the house, which room he used, what object he touched, and how long he stayed. This is a classic memory pressure tactic connected to cognitive load theory. Truthful memories are generally easier to recount across multiple passes because they are based on lived experience. Fabricated or edited narratives become harder to maintain as more detail is demanded.
There's one person across the field, like there's two houses across the field, it's one on the right. When I'm not able to mow the field, he mows the field.
Is that Mark?
Yeah, I'm not
I
sure.
forget his last name, but
I'm not sure if he's like her son or something. Okay.
so she's never asked for your help to do those types of like household chores, so like laundry
No.
or whatever. Okay.
No, I helped with the laundry machine, but not to do laundry.
Not like you've never done her laundry for her bed sheets or anything like that.
No.
You've never like taken a nap or slept in any of her bedrooms or anything like that.
No.
Okay. Do you remember if you've ever been in any of those bedrooms?
No.
No.
No. I've never been in any room other than the living room, kitchen, the bathroom.
Okay. Well, Randy Dunn, I think you probably know that I wouldn't ask that question unless I had a reason to.
Okay.
So, I'm just going to be honest with you because, I feel like you've been mostly honest with me. And I know your mom's been honest with me. Is it okay if I call you his mom?
Yeah.
Brody? Okay, I don't mean to.
It's okay, yeah.
But when I came over to you on,
Yeah.
I think that was Sunday, and I was asking you about your clothes and the video and such, and I explained that I wanted to get your DNA because I knew that you had been over there before because you mentioned, like you told us today, that you had talked with her. So I knew that at the very least, there would be evidence of you being in the porch.
Yeah.
Right? So I went and met with your mom, and you guys signed a consent form, and we got your DNA.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So we sent your DNA and the sex kit up to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, who does the testing and stuff for stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any reason at all that your DNA would be on her clothes?
Yeah, we when I said goodbye to her, we hugged. Like a side hug.
Okay.
That's
Let me be a little bit more specific. Your DNA was on her underwear.
What?
And so I want you to really use this time here to be honest with me about what happened that night.
The turning point comes when a detective reveals that Jesse's DNA was found on the victim's underwear. Notice the timing. They do not disclose this at the beginning. They first let him commit to a harmless account. This is a textbook example of the strategic use of evidence, SUE framework. The theory behind it is that suspects who do not know what investigators have will often volunteer denials that can later be disproven, making their credibility collapse all at once.
Because I think that we know what happened, and I think that your mom knows what happened because she also wrote down a list of times that you went in and out of the house that night, to include the time that the call came in. And I think you probably know that you wouldn't be in here unless we had a good reason to put you in.
I don't see what.
It's not about C, Randy John. It's truth.
Yeah, truth. It's impossible for my DNA to be on her underwear.
That's what we like to think too, brother, but that stuff doesn't lie. That stuff doesn't get made up. Sometimes the truth can be hard. You seem like a really good guy, man. You seem like you got a good head on your shoulders. You can make connections with people that need help. You go out there and you help other people. And there's people out there sometimes that make mistakes.
I'm gonna come over here and stand.
That doesn't make you a bad person for making a mistake. But we just need to understand, like, who is Randy John, man?
Oh my God.
Because I don't. And we don't think that was the intention. But we need to understand what happened, man.
Even while confronting him, the detectives do not immediately frame Jesse as monstrous. Instead, they say things like people make mistakes, that it does not necessarily make him a bad person, and that they need to understand what happened. This is a powerful confession-facilitating tactic rooted in neutralization theory. By softening the moral meaning of the act, interrogators reduce the suspect's fear that admission equals total personal damnation.
Randy, I want to be real clear with you. We know what happened. What I want to hear from your own words, everything that went on that night. Holy cow. I want to know why this happened.
Randy, help us understand them.
Randy, look at me for a second. You did this exact same thing when I asked you about you walking down the road or jogging down the road at 11 o'clock. And you did the whole, I don't remember, and I was like, bullshit. And you finally admitted to it. And I think this is the exact same thing. I know what happened. And it's only going to help you for you to be honest with me about what happened. Because like I said, we know what happened because we have your DNA at the crime scene.
Like you said, it's not like we're talking about a sweater that it was found on. It's in this elderly woman's underwear. What are you thinking, man? We're putting everything out here and you're kind of just looking at all this, man. I know it might be a shock, but what are you thinking?
I'm overly confused.
What are you confused about?
I wasn't even near her house. I was across the street.
A whole hour? You were gone.
Yeah. I said I was gone for about an hour.
Well, it so happens that you came back. Now, granted, this is notes that your mom told, but 43 minutes past midnight, you came from the outside with your shoes in your hand. Why were you holding your shoes? And don't forget that we have this. So I'm going to be able to corroborate everything she said.
Throughout the tougher phase, detectives repeatedly tell Jesse that they already know what happened and that the real issue is whether he will tell it himself. This is not just accusation. It is a tactic to make denial seem futile. The psychological mechanism aligns with learned helplessness dynamics in a limited interrogation sense. When a suspect perceives that all escape routes are closed and every denial will be contradicted, persistence begins to feel pointless.
A lot of people got a lot invested in that.
I can't even believe somebody did that.
I think maybe Ryan and I can go step outside real quick and kind of go over our notes. Mom, I don't know if you want to have a couple minutes to talk with your son. Lady, I want you to think real long and hard about everything that happened. And I want to do this, listen, more than I want to have the truth from you about what happened, because I know that you know what happened, I want to do this for her. If she is as an amazing of a person as you say she is, and I believe you because I've talked with her, getting all of this out in the open for her is what matters. Okay? And the first step to that is for you to be honest with us about what happened. That's the first step for you as well. For you to be able to move on from this is to tell us what happened. But it starts with telling us what happened here. Does that make sense? Yeah. Well, I'll give you guys 2 minutes. We'll be right back.
The detectives repeatedly redirect Jessie toward the victim's humanity. She is elderly, kind, trusting, and someone who cared about him. They emphasize that she deserves the truth, and that telling the truth is the first step for her and for him. This uses moral development theory, especially the idea that behavior can be influenced by activating empathy, duty, and moral obligation rather than just fear punishment. Instead of arguing only with evidence, they pressure his conscience.
She deserves the truth to be told, and you know it. Personally, I can't believe that this is a horrible thing with you, John. That's a horrible thing.
I don't even have the ability to do that.
Well, it's hard for me to believe, too. It's really hard for me to believe, too, that you would do a thing like this.
I didn't.
But how many times have you been caught in lies?
I know.
And this is the whole reason why you're on restriction. It's because you're not telling the truth about things. If this woman deserves to have the truth, she deserves it, and you know that.
What?
Don't say why's, Ready John, because why doesn't exist here.
I wasn't at her house.
Ready John, it's across the street. Look at her. Look at her. Look at her face.
I don't even think like that.
I've never seen you hurt anybody, but
I don't want to hurt
what the hell are you doing outside at that time of night? It doesn't make any sense. You understand? Ready, John, it doesn't make any sense. There's a million different things you can do. Being outside where you don't belong, and you know you don't belong out there.
I'm sorry, but I'm an outdoorsy person.
You're not an outdoorsy person. You're a sit in front of the TV kind of guy.
When I don't have TV, I'm outside.
Well, I don't know. I hope and pray you did not do this to this woman.
I didn't.
I hope and pray. I hope and pray you did not do this.
Allowing the grandmother/guardian to remain present changes the emotional dynamics of the room. She reinforces the detective's theme that Jessie has lied before, that truth matters, and that this victim deserves honesty. This creates not just legal or investigative pressure, but relational shame. The underlying concept here is social control theory. People are constrained not only by law, but by bonds to authority figures, caregivers, and community expectations. Jesse is no longer merely resisting police. He is resisting a moral coalition that includes the adult who raised him.
Because this is horrific. This is a human being, and she deserves justice. She does. If this would have happened to your sister, what would you do?
Murder whoever.
If you know anything about this, Randy John, for her at least, if you care about her, tell the truth. Tell the truth. We've been down that road before where you've been lying about something and you swear up and Randy John, you've lied about stuff before. You've lied and you screamed at me, you slammed doors and swore up and down you were telling the truth. Remember, I tell you over and over and over again, don't tell lies, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to create a bad reputation, and then when you do tell the truth, nobody's going to believe you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Here we are. Here we are. I can't say beyond a shadow of a doubt right now that you did or did not do this. I don't think that you did, but I can't prove it. And I already told you the evidence can hurt you. Because there's a whole lot of it. And you created it all.
Mom, are you okay with us talking with him? With just us?
Yeah. Okay.
After the emotionally heavy exchange with his guardian, the detectives asked to speak with him alone. This is a very deliberate sequencing choice. First, the guardian's disappointment increases his emotional strain. Then, once that strain is active, the detectives remove the audience and present privacy as a chance to explain himself without embarrassment. This reflects catharsis theory in interrogation practice. Once emotional tension builds, suspects may feel a strong need for release, and a quieter one-on-one setting can make disclosure feel like relief rather than surrender.
If I wanted something from her, I would have asked her Friday, because she's just a nice person.
I think that maybe you were tired of being on restrictions. I don't really know about the relationship between you and I'm gonna call her mom, but grandma. Maybe you're tired of her fussing at you or whatever it is that she does. I mean, I know that again, you guys don't always have the greatest relationship, but maybe you were just like angry. Y'all got into it you and your grandma, maybe y'all got into a fight, I don't know. And for whatever reason, you came over to her house, and then this happened. Maybe you were just thought you could just go over there and you were just trying to see what she would do, what would happen. I don't know. You got how you do.
One of the clearest tactics in this portion of the interrogation is the detective's effort to shrink the moral distance between Jesse and a confession. Instead of immediately framing him as a predator, the detective offers softer explanations. Maybe he was angry. Maybe he was overwhelmed. Maybe hormones and curiosity took over. Maybe he panicked. The underlying theory here is techniques of neutralization. By offering excuses that reduce shame without fully excusing the act, the detective makes admission feel survivable.
I just got done talking to your mom, and she said that, you're 14, right? I think every 14-year-old's kind of had some thoughts about what a woman's like and things like that, and I heard that you've been kind of exploring some nudity and pornography. Is that what's going on, man? Because the thing is, Grandma's got no reason to lie to me, and you have no reason to lie to me about that either. That's totally normal and totally fine. So is that something I heard you taking Grandpa's phone and taking a look at that?
No, I don't do it on Grandpa's phone. I haven't been able to do it since I had my computer, because she takes everything away.
Yeah. Well, is it true that you were looking at some of that stuff? Like I said, it's totally normal, man. Okay. And like I said, and I think like Detective Hardigan said, it's totally normal to want to find out about these things, especially for someone it seems like you really truly cared about this woman.
Yeah.
And maybe you just wanted to figure out what was what, man.
What it was like. Maybe you went into there and you didn't expect her to be awake. And so you freaked out. And you panicked. Because that's what it looks like. Is that this was oh shit. And then maybe you just slapped her around not expecting her to, maybe you just wanted to knock her out. You didn't think you would hurt her this bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got out of there.
The detective does not wait for Jesse to create his own explanation. He actively builds one for him. A frustrated teen, over-controlled at home, exposed to pornography, acting impulsively in a moment of bad judgment. This is more than conversation. It is a guided narrative structure the suspect can adopt piece by piece. The psychological basis is narrative identity theory. People make sense of their actions through stories, and when a suspect cannot face the raw meaning of what he did, an interrogator can offer a more manageable script.
Because what we're trying to figure out, Randy John, is like Detective Hardigan said, like we're pretty certain of what happened. What we're trying to figure out is Randy John the kind of guy that breaks into people's houses with axes and chops them up into pieces and leaves them and murders them? Or did Randy John just make a mistake? Did he go into a house and expect this 91-year-old woman to be sleeping and maybe figure out something about life, and then things just went awry? Because thing is, people panic, man. And people do things that they don't mean and they don't want to do when they panic. Have you ever kind of been in a situation where you just did something just because you were nervous and you didn't know what to do and it maybe wasn't the best idea? I think everyone's done that, man. So help us understand, Randy John.
I don't really know what happened.
Okay. Well, let's start from the beginning. What time did you go over there?
I honestly don't know because it's a bad habit I have not looking at time.
That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, if you don't know, that's fine. So, did you come into the kitchen door or the living room door or something else?
That was a side door.
So, is that the porch door or is that the
Living room had the piano.
the living room door? Yeah. Okay. And then what happened?
I was just kind of looking around at first.
Okay. And where were you when you were looking around?
Kind of living room, kitchen, hallway, like the middle area.
Okay. And then what?
I saw Miss Edith laying down. I went to go see, make sure she's asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't move at all. I went back out to the kitchen.
The detective never demands the full confession in one leap. He first gets Jesse to admit being in the house, then being in the room, then using the pillow, then restraining her, then watching pornography, then being aroused, then touching, and finally penetration. This staircase approach is highly deliberate. Its psychological foundation is the foot-in-the-door effect. Once someone agrees to a smaller admission, resistance to the next admission weakens because the person has already crossed the line from total denial into partial truth.
So I went out to the kitchen. I forget exactly what I did.
In the kitchen?
Yeah.
Okay.
That night's just a blur.
Sure.
I went back inside to get the grandpad to watch some videos. And then, as I was getting it, I heard more movement from her room. So I quickly put it down and went to make sure I'm still asleep. And then she turned over, awake. She said something. I don't know what she said. But I grabbed her pillow and I put it over her face so she couldn't see it was me. And she tried to take the pillow off, but I just held it there so she couldn't pull it away. And then she grabbed my shirt right here. And I was like not squeezing her hand, more just pulling it, trying to get her hand off my shirt.
So then you went to her bedroom. And that's when she was like, you saw that she was awake?
Yeah.
And then that's when you covered her face with the pillow? Okay. And what was happening when you were, like, show me, well, let's imagine that this is the pillow. Show me what you were doing. Like, if she was kind of in front of you, show me what you were doing.
I was just kind of like holding it there so she couldn't really see me.
Whenever Jesse claims parts of the night are a blur or says he does not remember, the detective repeatedly brings him back to the same moment from slightly different angles. What happened first? Where were you standing? What was she doing? What did you do next? Show me with your hands. Was she on her side or stomach? This is not simple repetition. It is an interrogation strategy rooted in context, reinstatement, and retrieval practice research. Repeatedly forcing a person to mentally revisit the same event increases the pressure on selective forgetting.
And I was holding it down a little harder, closer to her mouth so she couldn't really scream or yell.
Okay. And at some point you said you told her to what did you say? To be quiet?
I didn't say anything, I don't remember.
Okay. I thought you said that you told her to be quiet.
Why'd you put the pillow over her mouth?
Because I didn't want her to scream. I was just joking.
Was she screaming?
She's trying to say something.
Okay. What were you watching on the iPad? You said something very specific that you were watching videos. Tell me about that.
Just YouTube videos.
You sure about that? Because what I find hard to believe is that you can tell me what kind of videos you were watching. They were YouTube videos, but you can't tell me what happened after you put the pillow over her mouth. I think you were watching something else on that iPad. I need you to be honest with me, Randy. Sometimes the hardest part of the story is the thing we give the least detail about. And I can understand it, man. You're 14, you have so much more of your life to live. But what we need to understand, man, is we need to understand the truth. And I think you're telling most of the true story here. But I think you're conveniently leaving some parts out.
The detective points out that Jesse can remember certain harmless details very well. What videos he watched, where he walked, the iPad, the couch, but suddenly becomes vague when the most incriminating part arrives. That challenge is psychologically sharp because it exposes the pattern rather than just the content. The theory behind this is metacognitive monitoring. The detective is forcing Jesse to become aware of how implausible his own memory pattern sounds. Once the suspect sees that even the interviewer recognizes the selectivity of his memory, maintaining that selective forgetting becomes harder without appearing obviously deceptive.
And I think anybody would do the same thing in your situation, but man, like I said, do you want to be the Randy John that tells the truth, the Randy John that cares about it? Because I know you are. And sometimes when we're in this tough situation, we gotta say some tough things. It deserves that. You'd agree, right? So what were you watching on that iPad?
First I was on YouTube, and then I went to one of the porn things.
Okay. How long did you watch that for?
I don't know, 5-10 minutes.
Okay. What were you watching? Do you remember? You gotta remember, we work these kinds of things all the time, so there's nothing you're gonna say that's gonna make us bashful. What were you watching?
No, I don't remember exactly.
I remember being 14 at one point, man. I know we don't forget stuff like that.
What happened to... Oh, anyway. How did it end up on the floor?
I don't remember anything after that.
You do. We both know you do. All three of us know you remember. Don't do that, Randy. You know exactly what happened.
The detective repeatedly says some version of sexual curiosity is normal, pornography is normal, arousal is normal, masturbation is normal. That does not mean the detective is normalizing the crime. He is separating ordinary adolescent sexuality from the criminal assault. The psychological theory here is affect regulation. Shame often shuts down disclosure because the suspect becomes too defensive or too humiliated to continue.
No. Tell about that. I went in there to make sure she was still asleep.
For what reason? Because before you made sure she was still asleep and you just left. What I'm trying to understand is, man, why are you grabbing blankets and tying her arms up? You're a fast guy. You could have been out of there. You could have just left, but you stayed. You put the pillow on. I understand you freaked out.
When she woke up, she grabbed my shirt.
I believe that. 100% believe that. What I'm trying to understand is how a 14-year-old young man goes from watching pornographic material in the living room and probably was aroused by that, and that's fine, totally natural, to going into this old woman's bedroom and then progressing to tying her up and putting her arms behind her back. I don't think that's how you planned on it going down. I think you did panic. I think that's reasonable. But I want to know that you're telling me the truth. We deal with this kind of stuff every day, man. Like I said, this doesn't make you a bad person. But I want to understand the truth, man.
And Randy, you also need to remember, we've already talked with. She remembers everything that happened.
And we generally don't ask questions that we don't have the answer to, right, Sean? And I think you're being mostly honest with me, except for the parts that you just don't want to relive, man, and I don't want you to relive them either.
The detective repeatedly signals that the investigators already know most of the truth and that digital evidence, physical evidence, and a victim's account can verify what happened. He mentions search history, specialists who can recover deleted material, and the fact that police generally do not ask questions they do not already understand. The theory operating here is perceived inevitability of detection. Once a suspect believes concealment is no longer possible, the psychological value of lying drops sharply.
Like we said from the beginning, man, from the jump, we're not doing this for us. This isn't about the sheriff's office. This is about
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a true reaction out of you when you saw those pictures, because I know you're not that kind of guy.
Yeah, I don't think you meant to hurt her that bad.
I think you went in there with maybe hormones got the best of you, and you were thinking with the wrong part of your body for a moment. Mm-hmm. And you know what, man? I think every teenager has been there. I think you were just kind of caught in a bad situation. So help me understand, man.
When I was trying to pin her down, so I noticed that her underwear were raw.
How did they get off then?
That's something I've been thinking about. One thing I've been able to think of is when she twisted, when my arm went up her legs, her underwear went with it.
It's a pretty big jump, man. Would you believe that if we were swap shares? If I told you I was out in the living room watching porn videos, and then I went into a woman's room and then I tied her arms up or tried to hold her down, and I didn't take her underwear off, and they just randomly fell off. Would you believe that? Just help me understand, dude.
I never had the intent to have any sex with him either.
What was your intent?
I just needed a place where I wasn't under such control. I can't go anywhere in my house without needing to watch my cameras.
Yeah, your grandma pretty much had you in lockdown. I get that.
The detective works hard to connect the pornography Jesse watched with what happened in the bedroom. He asks what he searched, what he saw, whether he was aroused, whether he had seen that specific act before, and whether a thought popped in his head after noticing the victim's underwear was off. This reflects priming theory. The detective is not merely gathering facts. He is building a cognitive chain showing that recent sexual stimulation may have activated a script that Jesse later enacted.
Just so I can know Ray John a little bit better, you mind if I give you some more stuff? Sure. So, how old were you when you started watching the porn videos?
My friend showed them to me when I was 10.
10? So you've been watching them since you were 10?
Off and on, yeah.
Okay. How often do you think you were watching them before you got put on restriction?
Once or twice a week.
Okay. And what kind of stuff were you watching? Looking at pictures? Were you watching videos?
A mix of both.
A mix of both? Okay. And what site did you normally use?
Oh, the XNXX.
XNXX. And that's all it's called? You just put that into Google, XNXX?
Yeah, it was the website my friend showed me.
Okay.
I know about Pornhub and all the others, so that's the one I go to.
Whatever you're comfortable with, man. And how old were you when you started masturbating to it?
13.
Okay. So what were you doing when you were 10, between 10 and 13?
I'd watch it and then I'd try and figure out what it was. So it was probably when I was 12, I'll figure out what it was.
What do you mean by that? Tell me about that. You figured out what was?
I didn't know it was porn until...
Okay. So you watched it for 2 years and didn't know what it was?
I was always trying to figure out what it was. I was doing searches and everything.
Now the detective circles back to pornography, but this time in a more reflective way. He's no longer just establishing motive. He's mapping Jesse's sexual development, when the behavior started, how often it happened, and what kind of material he had been consuming over time.
Okay. And then did Grandma catch you? Is that what happened?
She went through my history.
Oh no. Was she mad?
I think she was mad.
Yeah, oh well. I'm sure she understands that you're just a young man just trying to learn. Do they still teach that kind of stuff in health class? Like sex ed?
I don't have health, but
no, you need to have. Everyone needs to have that. Because you got to know, right? The thing is,
my grandma had to talk with me.
Oh, okay. But still, you still gotta understand it, because then it seems like you're kind of out there until left to learn by yourself, and that's kind of tough. Oh man. But yeah, man. I mean, I wouldn't be concerned about that. I mean, obviously, Grandma's gonna have her own opinion, because I'm sure she wants you to be her little boy forever. I mean, you're not going to be her little dude forever, right?
The detective keeps the tone calm and almost conversational, which is a strategy in itself. Jesse is more willing to explain uncomfortable things when he doesn't feel attacked. That makes this section less about confrontation and more about getting him to keep revealing how his thinking developed.
How long you lived with her?
Since I was 5. Well, we moved down here when I was 5, and we lived with her for a few months, and my mom moved us in with the boyfriend she found.
Okay.
We were there for probably a month before my mom called my grandma to come get us, and that happened 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And then my grandma finally decided that she wanted me to have a constant living place. So, she got the paperwork, and my mom signed it, and she got custody of me. She was going to adopt me a few years ago, but my dad messed it up.
Oh no.
So.
Well, it seems like you got a good one there, man. And I know it's kind of a overbearing thing when they're telling you can't look at what you want to look at, but I think she's trying to do it for the best of you, because you get that stuff in your head a little bit too much. It can kind of mess your brain up a little bit, make you think about things you shouldn't be thinking about. You ever feel like that? You ever get those kind of any urges or anything like that? Ever feel like addicted to it or anything that you got to go back and watch it?
No.
That's good.
I can easily say I'm addicted to Minecraft.
Yeah? Are you pretty good at it?
Well, I can't play it because I don't have any devices. But my uncle introduced me to Minecraft. He had an Xbox 360, and him and my dad were playing one day, and I asked if I could play. He threw on the controller. Show me how to play. And him and I would play off and on, maybe once, twice a month.
Right.
He was over every Friday, and something him and I did every Sunday was LARP from live action role play.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
I haven't been able to go in a few months because of restriction.
Darn it.
But I was going with him, and they would let me, do the small things, and then.
As Jesse talks about video games, restrictions, and life with his grandmother, the detective is quietly building a bigger psychological profile. He's trying to understand Jesse's routine, his frustrations, his escapes, and whether isolation or control may have contributed to the decisions he made that night.
Now, remember how, like I said, I'm glad you got a grandmother that cares and wants to make sure you're doing the right thing. I find it hard to believe that you could just walk away from the pornography like that. So what made you think about turning on the porn when you were in the house?
One of the ads on the videos was someone in a bikini.
Okay. Was it a male in a bikini or a female in a bikini?
Female.
Okay. And what made you think about going to watch it after seeing that? Did it give you thoughts?
Yeah.
Tell me about those thoughts. Caitlin's not here anymore, so you can be real with me, man.
It kind of reminded me of the stuff I used to watch, and then I decided to watch it because.
What was the stuff you used to watch? I mean, we kind of got hung up on that earlier.
Mostly younger people, 18, 19.
Okay, so people close to your age.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And what kind of stuff are they normally doing? Are they having sex?
Yeah.
Okay. With men, women? Men? Okay. So you're watching the young women have sex with men? That's okay. That's natural, man. There's nothing wrong with that. It's totally natural for you to want to understand how things work and to be aroused by something that's meant to arouse you. You know what I mean? It'd be kind of strange if you didn't have any reaction to it. I mean, obviously, whatever you like is whatever you like, but everyone has something that they like, man.
At this stage, Jesse begins admitting that certain thoughts came back to him when he noticed the victim's underwear. That matters because it moves the assault further away from chaos and panic alone and closer to something the detectives believe involves sexual impulse and conscious decision-making.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. And kind of with the way technology is, it's so easy to find that kind of stuff now, right? So what I'm trying to understand is when you and I both know when you watch something like that, there's a reaction in your body, right? And when I say aroused, you know what I mean by that, right? Like an erection, like what do you call that? You call it an erection? You call it boner, whatever.
There's a few different terms.
Which one do you use?
Just getting hard.
Getting hard. So, did you get hard when you were watching the video of Mosquito's house?
Yeah.
Okay. So, were you acting on thoughts from that during this incident?
No.
So how did you get rid of your getting hard? I know it just doesn't go away.
I don't think about it for a few minutes. It stops.
But do you see where I'm having a hard time understanding that?
Yeah.
Why do you think I'm having a hard time understanding that?
It's not normal for it to just go away.
Is that actually what happened? But then the big thing is that I'm having a hard time is that you then went and had sexual contact.
Here, the detective returns to the most important contradiction in Jesse's story. He says he wasn't acting on arousal, yet the sequence of events strongly suggests otherwise. This is a classic interrogation move. Revisit the weak point repeatedly until the suspect starts filling in what he was trying to avoid.
You know, I let their parents deal with the rest of the stuff, but if it's like, if I see they're struggling with something, I try and help. But Kinsey, she was just...
Was Kinsey, like, coming on to you and wanting to do something?
No.
I'm just trying to understand.
When I'm with Kinsey, it's just like, whatever she wants to do, we do it.
Is this something that she wanted to do? Because I dealt with something very similar to this recently, with a boy about your age and a girl about that age, and it was all her idea. It happens.
No, it wasn't my idea. It wasn't her idea. It was...
So what happened? If it wasn't her idea, it wasn't her idea.
Unless it happened when I picked her up, I don't know.
Did you, when you picked her back up, did you kind of like keep moving back and forth to feel what that felt like?
No. Because I picked her up at the side of her leg. I meant to get both of her legs, but I just got one leg. I picked her up and I repositioned to get both.
Okay. All right. And the thing is we just got to ask. So we want to make sure that if you need to talk to somebody or something that's going on, we just want to make sure that you get every opportunity and every resource. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man, do you need anything?
I need the bathroom.
Your bathroom. Okay.
I went earlier, but I drink a lot of milk at school. Let's get that taken care of.
So I know it's been a while.
By the end of this final part, the interrogation becomes less about extracting facts and more about consequences. Jesse is confronted with love, disappointment, community fallout, and the reality that one act has changed multiple lives. And that's what gives this ending its weight. The confession is over, but the consequences are only beginning. Jesse Stone, who was 14 at the time of the offense, was sentenced in Marion County, Florida, to 25 years in prison, followed by 30 years of sex offender probation after pleading guilty to charges including sexual battery and burglary. The court treated the case with extreme seriousness due to the victim's age, 91 years old, and the fact that the crime occurred inside her own home. This sentence reflects how the justice system responds strongly to violent offenses, even when committed by a juvenile, especially when there is clear evidence and a confession. It also serves as a reminder of the long-term consequences of such actions, both legally and personally.